Today we're sitting down with Dan Hafner, the founder and CEO of the Mobile Domination app and podcast. He's also the founder and CEO of Mobile Dapper Apps. And today we talk about how companies can quickly, with no code, launch an app for their business and company and learn how to market it through app search optimization, viral marketing, organic marketing, and all the different softwares and tools that are available out there for managing projects when you're trying to launch your mobile app platform. So look forward to today's conversation with Dan Hafner. Dan, nice to meet you. I can't wait to learn more about Dapper Mobile Apps and what you've been doing along your entrepreneurial journey. Take us all the way back. Where did your entrepreneurial roots start, and what have you been doing before starting Dapper Mobile Apps?
Oh man. So it started with me, I don't even remember the year, 2016, 17, something like that. So it actually goes back to when I met my wife. We were kind of all over the place. We were long distance. She was my girlfriend at the time, but she's in the medical field. So we met in college. And I moved to be with her for med school. And then we moved to a different place for residency. And now we've moved to a different place for her fellowship. So we've been everywhere kind of every 3 years, and we're probably going to have to move again next year. So as you can imagine, it got kind of hard to hold down a job, being in that type of life. So I've decided I need to do something for myself, right? I kind of had a little bit of a background in IT. I did some help desk stuff for a long time, and I really got introduced to the whole entrepreneurial stuff with none other than Mr. Russell Brunson. Somewhere along the line, I saw a tweet. Somebody recommended this book called Expert Secrets, and I was like, "Huh, I'll check that out." Next thing you know, here I am setting up ClickFunnels accounts and doing random stuff to make money. You know what I mean? So,
Yep.
and then specifically with what I do inside of app development and stuff, how that all started was. My wife and I, when we were engaged for like 2 years because we were moving and there was all kinds of different, logistical things. And I had, unfortunately, I had gained like 25 pounds while we were engaged. So it was not good. I was like, I got to fit into this tux, you know what I mean? So I was using a running and fitness app. I started to notice, I was like, there's some things about this that I wish were better. I wish were different. And I just kind of had the idea one day. I was like, I should just make something like this, but I didn't know how to do that, right? So I had no idea, and something just kept bugging me, and I was like, I should really, really do this. So long story short, I figured out how to do it, and I just started a business as that. Just was like, I'm just going to figure out what to do, and I didn't have any money, I didn't have any know-how on how to make that happen. But I didn't let it stop me, and I just went out and did the damn thing, So
Yeah, love it. Well, certainly in today's day and age, there's a lot of people working from home that aren't necessarily moving around like you are,
yeah.
but they're working from home and are trying to find an entrepreneurial passion and profession like you've found. So it's great that you kind of let the niche just kind of find you a little bit, and then you dive right in. So tell me exactly what it is that Dapper Mobile Apps does.
Yeah, so we build and market no-code mobile and web apps, right?
Okay.
So that is really the niche that we work in. A lot of people we work with are a little bit on the smaller end. If you're like a solopreneur or maybe have a small team, but we've worked with people in the fitness space, the coaching space, even just entrepreneurs and startup businesses, right? And we specifically, I got attached to the no code piece, like I was saying, because I never went to school to learn how to code. I actually tried coding classes for like a day, and I was like, nah, not going to do that.
Yeah.
And I found that it was just a much more efficient and faster and cheaper way to accomplish things.
Okay.
So I kind of just built that skill, and I was like, I had people approaching me, and when I was doing my podcast back in the day, a few years ago, and just people were like, hey, think you could do this, or I have an app idea for this and that and the other thing, and that was really kind of, I was just like, well, I could do pretty much any of that. So that's really what it is. And then we got more into the marketing aspect of it, because anybody can build something. It's just like a funnel or like a website, any kind of thing. Like anybody can build something that just, it's not field of dreams. They won't come if you build it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So after a while, I realized like I needed to figure out how to teach people how to market the thing
Okay.
and get organic reach and all that kind of stuff, because there's so many cool things you can do specifically with apps to do that. So I went and mastered that on my own, and then learned how to coach that and teach that as part of a service as well. So it's kind of grown from just being like, "Oh, I'll build you the thing," and then it grew into like, "Hey, we'll build you the thing, and then we'll also like show you how to drive the thing." You know what I
Okay.
mean?
All right. I got a very fundamental question just to make sure that we're all geared the same way here. When I hear no code app, what that tells me is as a small business, I can either go pay a tremendous amount of money to some coders who can custom develop an app for me because I don't know how to code. I'm a small business owner. Or I can go get a no code app where I don't have to really know how to code to load my logo in and load in some of the things I want to be able to do. Is that what no code app means?
In essence, yes.
Okay.
Because I mean, it's not like there's I mean, it's all underlying code that it's built on,
Sure.
right? But it's all built in a way that if you can point and click and you can copy paste, you can really do it. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's the easiest thing in the world to figure out. Like when I started, there's all kinds of platforms out there. Like there's probably new software every day that's built for this kind of stuff, right? It's just getting more and more and more popular.
Mm-hmm.
But it also is a lot to figure out because certain ones do certain things, and that's what I found out when I dove down this path. I was trying to build my running and fitness app. I probably built it in like 30 different platforms because I would go into somewhere and I'd be like, well, this one's a little more complicated, a little more technical, or this one's way too simple, doesn't have everything I need. But yeah, in essence, it's something that you can figure out if you have the time, right? And that's why I found even inside of this no code space, people like you as a business owner, you might want an app, you might want the product, but you're running your business. You're trying to make money and market and figure those things out. So it almost became a done for you type of service. We'll be like, hey, if this is something that you want, but you don't have the 50 grand to shell out for a custom solution,
Mm-hmm.
you can do that for a fraction of the price and we can work with you to do that.
Okay. So let me kind of get this straight here. I just want to make sure I got it code. So I understand the no code piece now. But did you develop an app using coding assistance, if you will, that allows small businesses to develop their own apps on top of without coding? Or is your business more of, I want to build an app and you help me find the right software where I can build it without code and maybe help me build it on this no code platforms?
Actually, a little bit of both, to be honest.
Okay.
It mainly it's the first one. We have a platform,
That you've
uh,
built.
yes, that you can build and launch apps on top of,
Okay.
right?
So you're a software company who
Yes.
then moves a little bit into more of the consulting and assistance in marketing and reach services.
Yes, yeah, but as you mentioned in the second piece, there have been a couple people I've worked with who have just really wanted some kind of different solution than we offer, but they wanted to work with me for whatever reason. I don't know
Sure.
if I'm just a likable guy or what. So I have worked with people in that role of being like, well, if you really want that, this product is probably going to be better for you. And then I
Gotcha.
can even go over there and help them build that. And I've learned new platforms that way and things like that. So that's an option. Not a very common one, but it can be done. Yeah.
If I know how to code, is there any reason I would use what you have to offer?
Yeah, 100%. So um, if you guys are familiar with a platform called Bubble, have you ever heard of that one?
No.
No? Okay. It's one of the most common ones. It's like public. I mean, I don't know if it's publicly owned. They've got a ton of startup funding. They've just got like $20 million they raised and stuff. They have a really cool platform that's very popular. A lot of people who know how to code are actually transitioning over to that, really for ease and speed of use, right? And even with the software that we have, if you are someone who codes, you might get a little bit frustrated that some of it is that's kind of the drawback to no code stuff sometimes. It can be a little inflexible. It can be, but there are ways that you can add custom functionality on top of the no code that we have, right? So it's really almost a term we like to call, whoops, sorry, low code, right? So there's actually a mixture of the drag and drop templates, point and click, something I can stand up in a day. But if I know how to code, if I know HTML, if I know JavaScript, if I know those types of languages, I can actually make what I have even cooler because I know how to do ninja stuff with that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, it's easier, it's cheaper, it's faster. Because I mean, even like something like building a an account management system can actually be really complicated to build inside of a coding platform. Whereas with us, it's like literally built for you. So like that eliminates that hurdle, like point blank. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
So talk to me about trade-offs. I validate or invalidate some assumptions here. I assume a trade-off is if you're going with a code app, you have to know coding. That's the trade-off. The trade-off to going with a no-code app is it's going to be restrictive. You can't do everything because the underlying code is going to box you in some areas that no code doesn't. Is that a fair assessment of the trade-offs?
Partly, yeah. Because I mean, if you're going to go with a custom solution, it's not that you need to know how, because you might just be able to hire someone that knows how, right? But it's going to cost you more money. You can go on places like Fiverr, Upwork, those types of places, and hire developers. And we have packages like that where we charge hourly, but it's not cheap, right? That's just part of it. Um, and yes, if you're gonna, but if you are a coder and you know how to build things, using any kind of language, you might find you can build whatever you want. You can make things flexibly, right? And with more of a no code platform, you might find some restrictions. You might find some like, well, I wish this button would be this color, or this, there's this font I want to include in here and I can't really it doesn't take an extra fonts, or there's this really cool JavaScript feature I want to add, but I can't, right? Or animations I want to add, or things like that, right? So some of that, you might find a little bit restrictive. But again, the trade-off is ease and speed of use, right? Ease and speed of standing something up instead of taking 6 months to a year to get your product out there. The trade-off is being able to do it in a matter of weeks or a month, right? And then you can always improve upon it there. And like I said, there's ways that we've built that in, so now you can actually put custom functionality. It's like a car engine, right? Like if you bought a Toyota or something from the dealership, you can still put a lift kit on that thing. You can still do changes to the engine, right? Just because it comes stock doesn't mean that you can't add your own things onto it, right?
And you said you're not a coding guy.
Right.
So you came into this business that essentially is about coding, but with a user interface of no code, and you didn't have experience in coding. What are the entrepreneurial skills that you do have that are your superpowers? Because it's not coding. What are your entrepreneurial superpowers that you brought to your business that have led you to your current level of success?
That's a very, very good question. I get that question asked a lot. I'd say probably my one superpower that I've really learned to lean on has just been this ability to. It actually goes back to a job I had when I was working with my wife, or we were living in Virginia. I was in a little bit of software development and testing, very, very limited, but I learned the ITIL methodology, and that was really the ability to take technological solutions, or I'm sorry, business problems, and translate them into technological solutions, right? To say like, hey, we need this tracking program that serves this purpose and solves this problem and tracks this thing for this company, right? And then being able to translate that into a technological solution that's not only automated but scalable, but also serves a use case. It's not just another thing, right? So that's really my superpowers. I've been able to really go in and look at any business, almost any business, and be like, "Oh, I see what you're trying to do. Here's how we could actually build you software that would help that would solve that problem." Right? Like I could literally have like I've looked at so many businesses, I could probably look at anyone and be like, "Okay, if this is what you want to do and this is what you're trying to accomplish, here's how we can solve that for you." Right? That's really been my Batman power. You know what I mean?
So tell us a little bit more about that. You use the word ITIL. Can you break some of that down so that our listeners who aren't familiar with it and don't have your superpower may get some value from hearing what is it and how do you use it.
Oh gosh, I was afraid you were going to ask me about that. I should never. I honestly don't remember what ITIL stands for. It's like information technology something language. I honestly don't remember.
Okay.
I had to get
Well,
certified
tell
in
me
it.
about what you do
Well,
remember of it, and
yeah.
what are the components of it that you do apply with excellence that you might say, hey, other entrepreneurs probably could value from these aspects of it that I learned.
Yeah. So I know parts of it that I remember was that it was all based on project management and segregation of duties, right? There was service management cycles, there was service fulfillment cycles, and it all worked together in a way that was very logical, especially for software and business as it was related together, right? One of the cool things that I've learned and that I learned at that previous job that I was in and have implemented in my business a lot. We work in this what we call sprint methodology, agile methodology, right? If anyone's ever heard of that, I love it. It's really, really cool. There's a really cool piece of software out there called Jira that we use, which is super easy, super fun to use. And the whole concept of a sprint, right, is we say, hey, in the next 2 weeks, here's what we're going to accomplish, and that's the scope of everything. We say, hey, like here are the 5 things we're going to get done because these are critical, and this is what needs to happen, right? If anything else gets done, great. But if not, like we need this stuff to happen. And it's moving it one at a time in priority and making sure that that's accomplished before you actually move on to the next thing. Right. And it might seem a little uncomfortable and counterintuitive at first, especially if like you can apply this to business stuff. I even apply this inside of my business. I do um I call it like my one thing for the week. Maybe I forget who wrote that book, The One Thing. Like the one thing, and then the four. Like I have 4 things every day that I'm trying to achieve. And at the end of the week, it's like, wow, I actually got a lot done. In the moment, I might not feel that productive, but I'm actually incrementally moving forward because I strategically thought through what I needed to do. Right. So this applies to software development, but also into business practices as well.
Yeah, the sprints are incredibly effective, and
Yeah.
you're right. Like that language is typically used in programming or technology space, right? Where you have a software you got to develop, and it's a monster project, and you break it down into, instead of a year project, it's 52 sprints. And what do we need to do this week so we can get to the next week's sprint, and so on and so forth. And I found that as a project manager, it's so easy to manage. It's like, let's not worry about anything else. What are we going to get done in the next week?
Yeah.
And come back with your deliverable. It's so much easier to manage a project, and it doesn't have to just be technology. It could be any large project you take down into bite-sized pieces. And The One Thing is one of the books we've mentioned probably the most on this podcast. It's something that I subscribe to a lot. Is what's the one thing I'm going to do today? It's going to help me for the week. It's going to help me for the month, the quarter, for the year, for my lifetime, if you will. Gary Keller is the author.
That's who that is. Yeah.
Fantastic book. And I love the idea of you bring up the sprint methodology. By the way, Jira, how do you spell Jira, the software? I'm curious.
Jira.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
So I want to come back maybe to the root of this. You have a knack for looking at a business and saying, here's how this can help you. Let's give this a shot. Let's do a little pilot. So we have a podcast called the Entrepreneurs United podcast. We do not have an app. We have a website. Maybe the first question is, what's the difference between a website and an app? We don't really have any products yet. We maybe in the future will have books and t-shirts and whatever, but today we don't have any products that we're selling. Our goal is to make an impact on entrepreneurs. I could visualize an app maybe that has a daily, maybe our podcasts are found there instead of Spotify, or maybe there's articles we put on there. Maybe there's a tip of the day that comes on. And I'm trying to think through that process. But I guess the general question I have, and maybe you can kind of give me some examples for other entrepreneurs to relate to, what's the difference between a website that I can get on my phone in a mobile friendly view versus an app I download off the App Store? What's the difference? And when do you know if you need one versus the other? And maybe relate it back to our example.
Yeah, it's a good question. There's a lot there. I'll try to work through it. So basically to start, I like to think of it this way. A website is really something that's passive, right? Like you have to go and you have to do SEO, you have to do marketing. And once it's there, you can still drive people to it via email marketing or things like that. But you're driving, it's really a passive thing, right? An app, on the other hand, you can use as an active outreach tool, right? There's things called push notifications, right? That we can send through that device. And even if it's only web based, if it's what we call a PWA, which is a progressive web app, which is actually really, really cool technology. If you've ever heard of that, it's like basically having an app on your phone that functions inside of a browser, but it looks and it feels like something you would download from the Apple App Store or Google Play, right? Um, there's certain advantages and disadvantages to that. I could talk a lot on that, so I won't really dive into that. But when to know the difference of like, hey, I just have a website and it's mobile friendly and that gets the job done, or hey, man, I really need an app and I think this is why we could use this. A lot of people, if you're just starting out, if you are kind of in startup mode, or you just kind of have some resources, a website can definitely just be a very good resource for that. You can really get that done, right? Especially if it's mobile friendly. Like if it's not mobile friendly, then you gotta fix that, right?
Yeah.
Um, but when you get to a point where you wanna start doing more outbound things, or you really have just way too much content that is making your website slow, maybe loading time's not fun, or people are just, it's so confusing, there's so many different things inside of there. A lot of people will migrate to things like Kajabi, Teachable, those types of deals. um, and if you really want to have your own thing, like you guys, I mean, I have podcasts, you guys have podcasts, it can be listed anywhere. You can have it on a lot of platforms for traffic, like Spotify, like Apple, like all that stuff, right? And if you really just want to build your own thing, and like if you just finally like, you know what, I've actually had clients who've been like kicked off of Facebook, that had like groups of like 10,000 people that just like got shut down for whatever reason. And they're like, dude, I need my own software. I'm done worrying about that. That is a not fun thing to go through.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I mean, you can do a website, you can do an app, you can do whatever you need. I mean, an app is really kind of the logical conclusion of that, because you can do community, you can do content, you can do membership access, you can do all this stuff inside of one place, and it's just a tap away. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like it's right there on your phone. That's another difference, right? Like how many times you guys just went to my website? You said when before we got on here. Are you probably going to go back to my website at any point in time?
No.
Probably not, right? But if you had a little icon with Dapper Mobile Apps on your phone, I mean, you might not visit it every day, but the chances of you getting back there are probably a lot better, right?
Yeah, they're a lot better because it's one of X amount of apps on my phone. However, I think the point you're bringing up is really the trigger maybe for me in my mind, which is how often are you going to go to that resource? So, for example, there's an app on my phone called Flipboard, and it's news, and I go to that probably every day because I want to see what's going on. There's other apps like LinkedIn. I go on probably every day, see what's going on. But there's some apps on my phone I just never open, but I may have downloaded once because I was in an event and I download the app and I never need to use it again, and I'm eventually going to delete it.
Yep.
So I think the key component is engagement with your community. How often does your community want to engage with you? As an example, in a different space, there's a ranking site that a lot of people go to on a daily, weekly, I guess weekly basis. They'll go to this site. So they're getting tons of hits on their website. But if it was an app, they would have to log in. They'd give permission to be communicated. Maybe there'd be push notifications to to me, it's an engagement community question. Is that fair? How engaged your
Yes.
community is? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, go ahead.
So I want to take it to the next step, though. So you've helped me understand the difference between a website and app, and why you should have one, and why you shouldn't, maybe. You talk in your second step about marketing it and the reach, and then you've developed an expertise there. So help me with that for a second. So if you do have an app, how do you assist companies with getting the app promoted and getting it? People saying, "Oh, I want to download this." I would know. I know how to, we had a guest recently on how to sell products online, and you can go do YouTube videos, you can do a whole bunch of different things. But what is the methodology you're working with right now with your clients to promote the apps that they actually do build?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of different things you can do, just like that was saying. You can go YouTube, you can do Facebook ads, you can do whatever you want. But what we really do is what's called ASO. It's called App Store Optimization. It's like SEO for
Huh.
websites, search engine optimization, right? And there's actually a formula that we follow, and it's not my formula, so I won't say it. So I don't want to like copyright people.
Sure.
But it basically just comes down to outside of your audience that you have, it's going to be hard. I mean, there's like 3,000 new apps launched a day. It's hard to get noticed, just like websites, right? So you have to be able to get the right keywords, the right logo, the right description, and almost 60 to 70% of organic traffic will come through the app store. Like, it actually is a very under-tapped market. I think there's half a billion users like per year,
Wow.
something like that. Like, it's crazy high, right? And it can literally change. You can blow up a leads list overnight. Like, we had one client that we did all this, launch and marketing and organic stuff for. And once we got all that done, I mean, a lot of it was on her end where she was going and getting promoted and doing that stuff. But she literally built her list from 0 to like almost 5,000 in like 3 weeks. I mean, it was really, really effective and really cool. And that wasn't even like a huge success. There's apps like Angry Birds and that kind of stuff, which we don't do, that can just go viral like in an instant. You know what I mean? But that's really what we do, is and we can even work with people who have existing apps to, like, the screenshots that you have sometimes will tell. Sometimes, like when you said like Flipboard, like if Flipboard had like a terrible looking presence on the app store, you probably wouldn't download it.
Hmm.
Be like, oh, this is like a virus app, like I don't want that. You know what I mean? So it's about creating a professional, clean, inviting presence to actually get someone to download your stuff, right? And that's really what we do. And then it's almost like SEO. It's like a longer term play, and finding the keywords that you can rank in the top four, measuring that performance. We have, all that analytics and all that stuff that we can plug you into that can show, like, hey, for this keyword, I really want to rank in the top 25, and just trying to get that there over time.
You had said after building it, you had some of your clients come back and ask you about how to market it, and you had used the term organic reach. Can you tell us more about organic reach and provide some of our listeners some value on something they may be able to do in the short term?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back to the last answer I was saying was, really, that is really kind of what I talk about inside of organic reach, is that, that ASO type of thing. But I also don't discount social media. Like TikTok is an incredible engine to be on these days. Um, Influencer marketing is still not a dead thing. We have success with that with people. And Apple actually gives you some really cool ways that you can do that. You can do what's called like an affiliate, what's it called, like affiliate referral link or something like that. And you can actually track, who is, if you can send it out to 10 people or 10 influencers or whatever, and you can actually track who's driving the most downloads of that, so you can actually see, who's giving you the most downloads, users, all that kind of stuff. um, there's a bunch of offline things you can do, like even like QR codes, um, you know, putting actually, the download on the App Store and get on Google Play on your social media handles, on your website, those types of things with actual links to the app stores. Just because it's just a billboard. It's just another way to drive traffic to that. So again, there's a bunch of different ideas. I've seen people come up with even ideas that I never would have thought of to market things. You know what I mean? It's just that people have so much creativity.
I want to touch on that influencer marketing piece because again, I'm referencing a prior conversation we had with another guest about this whole affiliate marketing revenues that people are making a lot of money on. Is that how influencers are approached? Which is basically, hey, I have this new baseball cap. wear this baseball cap and promote it on your TikTok, and anybody who buys a baseball cap, I'll shoot you back $5, and they then go do it. Is that how that is? And is there a portal or a site to connect with influencers to give them your affiliate marketing link and promote the product?
Yeah, one I actually use is called IntelliFluence. I've used that for a while. But yeah, I mean, I think, and again, I'm not the guy to talk to when it comes to affiliate stuff. I tried it before and I failed. I never was very good at it. Um, but I know how to get in touch with people. You know what I mean? I just was never good at, the connection and doing that.
Sure.
But you can do it different ways. Like we've done deals or I've helped people figure out deals where it's like just like you said, like, hey, we got this thing. For everyone you promote, we'll throw in whatever. It's almost like a commission based thing.
Yeah.
Or there can just be like, hey, we're going to give you $500 to do this and post this and that and the other thing. And there's even people you can find on things like Fiverr that will promote things on heavily trafficked websites for really cheap. Like I always recommend that as a good tool. Like there was a package I think we found one time where you could for like $10 and they would feature it as like the product of the day. There's a really cool site out there I know we use sometimes called Product Hunt. If you've ever heard of that one, that's a really cool one because that can lead to a lot of traffic and a lot of cool stuff. So there's a whole bunch of different startup directories out there that you can get pushed out to inside of email lists and all that kind of stuff too. And some are free, some are paid, some are monthly, some are one-time fees. So that's just if you want to go that route and then you can afford it, then that's definitely a good idea.
Yeah, what a great idea. I mean, that's a I'm just thinking through like I do stuff, for example, in the sports industry. Well, what a fantastic idea to get a professional athlete you may not even know who has a million followers or whatever to say, hey, just put a post here and promote my hockey puck. And, they go do it. And next thing you know, you got 1,000 people on your website for, commission basis. I mean, I'm not sure if that actually happens exactly like that, but it sounds like on Fiverr, for example, you can find people that have like, millions of followers that are willing to do anything for a commission. Right. So what an interesting way to do things on a commission basis, low cost, low budget. Love that. So a little off topic. What is the most successful app you've participated in helping develop?
We have one that we just launched that I really think is going to be the most successful, but it's not yet.
Okay.
But the most successful to date is probably the one I mentioned earlier. It's called Feel for Your Life. So done by a lady named Jessica. She's awesome. According to her, she did the research on this. She was the first breast cancer survivor to ever develop an app like this.
Oh, wow.
So really what it is, it's all information and resources and reminders and all this stuff around self-exams, right? Because she found her cancer through a self-exam. And she's gone on to, she's like working on legislation to make it like more, like salient and more affordable, like for this kind of stuff. Like it's really, really cool. That's been our most successful one to date. She was actually my very, very first client, believe it or not. And I always like to promote her because she's such a good person, just down to her core, truly as well. And what she has going on with that is awesome.
Awesome. And that's Feel for Your Life.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. And you got to tell me what the one is you guys just recently developed you think is going to get there in terms of your most successful one. What is it?
So I don't know if I'm at liberty to release that.
Okay,
yeah, it's still an MVP. It's basically it's a marketplace. It's not even a mobile app yet.
Okay.
That's on the roadmap at some point. I'll tell you this. It's in the challenge space, the online challenge space. If you've heard of all these different people doing challenges on Facebook and things like that.
Yep.
It's basically a marketplace that's going to be all things related to that.
Okay.
So people are going to be able to host challenges, to be able to go live inside of there and sell, and it's just going to solve so many cool problems. Yeah, we got like a TV show in the works for this, and all this TV app and like Roku apps and all this cool stuff with it too. So
nice.
But we just launched it like a couple of weeks ago, so it's still very
awesome.
Very MVP.
Yeah, we'll stay tuned for it. And if people want to learn more, get assistance with you with their ideas of an app or how to promote it, where do they find you? And tell us a little bit more about your podcast real quick.
Yeah, so probably the best place is either my website at dappermobileapps.com, or there's an app that I have that I created for Dapper Mobile Apps. It's called Mobile Domination. You can download that on the App Store, Google Play, and that has basically everything that you talked about. It has the podcast on there. It has on-demand content on there. I go live inside of there. I do live streams. Which is kind of cool. I actually kind of skipped over. I forgot about you guys' podcast app, right? There's content we have in there, paid, free. We have our mastermind access in there, like all kinds of really cool stuff. Um, and about the podcast, it's called Mobile Domination. I actually just changed the name of the podcast recently. It was originally called Run Your Day.
Okay.
It started as a complement to the running and fitness app I had before, and I had like over 300 episodes. Kind of put it down for a while because I kind of just got tired of doing it.
Mhm.
And I was like, I really like podcasting. I really want to get back into it. And I wanted to rebrand it to fit what I was doing now.
Mhm.
So that I've just kind of restarted up over the past couple of months with the Mobile Domination brand of it. So, and it's all about things like this. We're going to have clients on there. We had you mentioned LinkedIn.
Yep.
Before. I talked with someone who talks about all these tips for your LinkedIn profile and all these different hacks and all kinds of cool stuff like that. So,
Love it.
so yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, Dan, thanks for coming on with us today. Enjoyed the content and continue to build your company, man. I'm excited to see where this goes, and I can't wait to see this new challenge app. I'll stay tuned with you on that one. Catch
Yeah,
up when it goes.
absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you,
It's been
Dan.
so much fun.
Please stick around for a few more minutes while Rich and I break down this episode.
Rich, do you have any sense or idea what percentage right now in generally in the United States people are accessing websites from a mobile phone versus a computer?
87.75%.
Yeah, not quite. It's more like 69.38%, but I think it's somewhere in the high 60s basically.
Yeah.
But it is amazing that there are many, many people today, especially with the iPads and with the Surface notebooks that have come out. You consider that mobile devices now as well, that a lot of people just aren't even using computers anymore unless there's a specific need for them to have spreadsheet work or specific software. It's just amazing. You can really do anything on it. And so, when you start hearing about mobile app technologies that are coming out, or people are focusing in on it, or online e-com sales through a mobile app, it really is still in the first inning of this thing, because I really see a future where everything is done on your mobile app, not on this big laptop computer that we use. So I really think Dan's on the right space and focusing. And I think where he's focusing on too is where people look, I don't have a ton of money. I don't have coding experience. I just want an app to interact with my community. It's a really interesting space. I think has a ton of growth potential.
I don't know who came up with it, but it's practically a mantra that somebody would say, there's an app for that.
Yeah.
There's an app for that.
Yep.
And, the way that he breaks things down, I enjoyed hearing his blend of, he said, project management and segregation of duties. And within that, he's talking to companies about some of the automations available and some of the ease on the back end that apps provide. Honestly, never considered it before. I'm curious, John, on the sprint methodology, and you had experience with that, it sounded like.
Mhm.
And I may have some too. I don't know if we're calling it the same thing, but I'd love to know from your end, what's the difference between sprint methodology and agile that you've learned, the agile methodology, versus creating what we would call a critical path?
I think that agile is, you kind of divide out, hey, look, you're doing the customer interface, you're doing the back end interface, you're doing the finance interface. We got 3 months to get the project done, go. And that team goes, that team goes, that team goes. And everybody comes back at 3 months, goes, okay, I'm done. And they put it together. Sprint is more of, okay, what are you doing on the front end this week that you can show me works this week? What are you doing on the back end that you can show me this week works? What are you doing in finance? You can show me this week works. At the end of the week, everybody comes in, they show their product, it passes, fails. Okay, now what are you doing in the next week? Let's go. So agile is more longer term. Sprint is more sprint. What you're talking about in terms of the critical path is more of I see more of a document, like, okay, here's what we need to do. By the end of this, it needs to be here. So every week we need to have these things done, is more of like maybe a documented roadmap. Whereas agile or sprint is more the methodology to which how you manage the project as a project manager. Are you doing sprints with different scrums of groups that are kind of getting things done? Oh, by the way, this week, the front end and the back end, you guys need to get together because by the end of this week, these two things need to be able to work together. Okay, go. So it's more of the project management methodology, I believe.
So where a critical path is, what's the date and deliverable for that particular driver? The way you're describing it is basically like double clicking on that and looking at all of the micro steps and who's responsible for it. So the use of the sprint methodology, and I know people in our company who have used Jira.
Yep.
Okay. It's really about coordinating multiple people's efforts to accomplish something on a critical path, as I'm understanding it.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it. And to me, it's more of how are you managing it, right? Are you taking the macro management, which is, look, the next 3 months, get this thing done. This is your job. Or are you going to Rich and go, hey, Rich, by the end of next week, I need you to have these two components done. Can you do it? Yes. Okay, perfect. Bring it back and show it to me. Because what they found happened is, as you know, just reliability and human nature. You send these 3 groups off and say in 3 months, come back. Well, they come back and it doesn't talk to each other. They didn't get it done exactly we were expecting it. Whereas the sprint, you have continuous weekly, okay, that worked, next, that worked, next. The other thing too, and this would drive you absolutely bananas, is in a sprint methodology, and again, I'm not an expert in sprint, so this is just from my knowledge and the way I experienced it. You can launch a product before it's fully built. Because every sprint augments the product, but you're live, you're working in the product that's live versus waiting a year for it fully to be working with every single feature and bell and whistle you were looking to do. You can actually launch a product through sprints a lot faster. And then, this is version 1, version 2 is coming out in 3 weeks. And then you kind of relaunch until you've built all the features and functionality you actually hoped for. So that's the way.
Surprised to hear that I'm facilitating a core group of people using what we would call the sprint methodology, and there are some minor variances to it. But it is what you'll be surprised to hear is it's exactly that we'll call it wayfinding, and we'll have something that's of value, but it's not complete, but it's of enough value to put out there to get a response to understand where we need to go next. And it sounds like that's exactly what Dan brings to companies, and he closes that gap by inserting an app to be able to do that in an automated way.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember you and I sitting down at a bar, I'm sure, years ago. And one of the questions in conversation, and we always had very interesting conversations, was, what are the top 3 mobile apps on your phone that you don't think I have on my phone?
Yes.
And that you use all the time. Do you remember that conversation? I mean, it was a long time ago. I can't remember what our answers were.
I remember I ended up downloading 1 or 2 of your top 3.
That's awesome. I'd love to press pause right now and come back with the top 3.
All right, we literally hit pause and we each wrote down a few apps. So we're going to share that with each other live and share that consequently with you. I actually wrote down 4, John, so I'm going to start and end then.
Okay, I got 4 too.
Oh, do you? Good. So then I'll start.
Just in case you had one that I had that I wanted to change.
Perfect. I'm assuming this is not unique, but I got to say one of the apps I find really useful is having OneDrive on my phone, on my computer, on my tablet, and my files I can access absolutely anywhere. And on my Apple devices, I can go in and edit them and even not just view them. I find that incredibly useful.
Yeah, OneDrive, Dropbox, Google Drive, Box, I think there's one called. Maybe there's a few others. Oh my gosh. Like your entire set of documents right there. I mean, the amount of times, Rich, I'm even in a meeting and someone says, oh, remember that document we had from like in 2 seconds, I have it up on my phone. I'm like, this one, that searchability to find those documents and access them in a secure manner on your phone. Unbelievable. So I love that. It's not one of mine, but I do have similar ones. I'm going to start with the Cash app. Do you have that one?
I don't.
So I recently recommended it to some family members as well. I've been using the Cash app for a couple of years now to pay housekeepers. I got to send somebody $20 for the pizza party, whatever. It's similar
If we
to
made a bet and you lost, for example, you'd send me money there.
I send it to your Cash app, and then you can go download. So I've been using it for a couple of years. At the time, it was just an easy way for me to send people some money. Obviously, PayPal's became antiquated a little bit. There's Venmo, which everybody knows about. But the reason why I like Cash App is for a couple of reasons. One is Cash App has been fully integrated now with a couple of blockchain technologies where you can actually buy Bitcoin or buy other things through that Cash App. But more importantly than that is a lot of cash registers now. The new POS systems that are coming out all have Cash App access. So you can actually pay with your Cash App at retail stores using actually fiat currency and or cryptocurrency. And it will translate it from your cryptocurrency as an example into US currency, into the cash register within seconds, almost just as quick as your Apple Pay would do it. So it's a really cool tool that I've actually recommended a few people who recently who are wondering how to transfer money between people. And it's one that I think is going to grow in popularity.
Cool. Never heard of it. I got one that's probably boring to you, but I find it useful. Is I have a Nighthawk router in my home, and I have an app for the router that I can log in to restart the Nighthawk or check the security settings or even update the router to make sure it has the most recent firmware on it, that type of thing.
Awesome. Yeah, the ability to manage your home and things in your home via an app, I don't fully have yet. Do you? Like temperature, garage door?
I'll say we have an Ecobee, is the name of the thermostat thing we have, that we could log in to the Ecobee. This isn't one of my four. You can't count it as one of my four. The Ecobee is another app that we have that we could log in when we're out of state and go, oh, I forgot to turn down the temperature, and we could lower the temperature. Yeah. As a matter of fact, it has sensors in it. It's not that expensive either. It has sensors in every room, and you could turn the sensors on and off based on what rooms you want to have it average for the temperature of the home, and then change the temperature of the home. And all of those settings are all on the app.
Okay, timeout. I think we need to get Dan back on the stream because what I'm talking about is, don't you think by now there would be an app that you could just go on and it would connect to the Nighthawk, it would connect to the Ecobeam, it would connect to whatever other devices in your home to connect to, so that you have one app that controls everything in your home? Don't you think that should be out there, an aggregator of all the different home related services?
Sounds like $1 million business idea we should talk to Dan about.
Okay, let's not post this one, okay? Next one that I'll throw, Greenlight. Have you ever heard of Greenlight?
No.
Okay. So Greenlight, again, recommended to a bunch of people recently. We should put a link in the description below so I can get my credit for referring people out on these things. I should have thought about that based on our conversation with Tom. But Greenlight is a youth credit card system that my kids both have Greenlight cards. I can easily load money onto their cards. Every time they purchase something, I see what it is, and I can actually put restrictions on it, like X amount of money is for food, X amount of money is for this, X amount of money on for that. But it's an easy way that gave me confidence for them to carry around a credit card. Like literally, when I go to my kids' convenience store, they say I want to get a Gatorade. They get out of the car, they go buy their own Gatorade. I know they're buying a Gatorade, and I don't have to go in with them, pay for them. So it gives them a little sense of independence, but then also they can manage it. And when they start making some money, I'm going to actually put their money in Greenlight, and they'll be able to put some into the savings account right there in their Greenlight app, versus using a traditional banking system. They'll be able to do so many other cool things, and they'll teach them how to invest with their savings, things like that in the Greenlight app. So something that I've come to love.
You're using the term credit card. It sounds more like a preloaded debit card per se, because they're not actually getting credit scoring on it, right?
That's right, but it has MasterCard or Visa capabilities. Yeah.
Got it. I do something very similar, but I use Capital One as my bank.
Yep.
And I can, on an app, transfer money to kids' accounts, have it automatically pay them an allowance, split it between multiple accounts. Yeah, very similar. Yep. That's just a different app I have a similar functionality with. Yeah. All right, here's kind of a fun one. You ever heard of Crumble Cookie?
No.
You may want to look up Crumble Cookie.
Okay.
I have a Crumble Cookie app. My kids love Crumble Cookie. They're really good, kind of expensive, and they change what cookies they make every week. So you could get on the app, see what the cookies are. And as a matter of fact, our 19-year-old who's in the Navy just ordered Crumble Cookie on her app for our 19-year-old is Kaylin, and ordered it for Katie, who's 15, and Paige, who's 8. Ordered Crumble Cookie from Biloxi, Mississippi to our home yesterday. No, it was 2 days ago, which was the first day of summer for our kids. So she got on an app, ordered Crumble Cookie for them with a little note that said, "Happy first day of summer," and sent it over, and she was able to get what the local cookies were in Iowa.
That's so Crumble Cookie comes from local delivery services? Or is it
Yes.
anywhere in the country?
So it's CRUMBL.
Okay.
And you go on the app, look at what cookies they have. You can order a 4-pack, you can order ice cream, stuff like that. And then I think they use Grubhub or something like that. You don't have to organize any of it. Crumble organizes all of it in the background. And it's just a nice treat for a graduation, for a birthday, for a nice surprise, like what Kaylin did for her sisters.
Love it. All right. Next one. I got a fun one for you and family. Mixed tiles.
Tell me about it.
And now I'm reaching to ones that I don't think you have or that you'd be interested in versus ones that I use most often. But my last one here will be mixed tiles. Mixed tiles
is it MIX or mixed?
MIX.
Okay.
And so what it does is you can actually take pictures from your phone into mixed tiles and create these little tiles, like little square tiles with adhesive on the back. And within minutes, you can order like 5 prints and it will ship to your door. These little tiles you can actually just stick to the wall. So you're going to be right there behind your little H symbol. And one real cool thing about it that we did here that I thought was pretty unique is when we have visitors come over, we actually find pictures of us with them from the past and we put them next to the guest bedroom. And they come in.
That's cool.
You could do things like that, or you can totally, create walls of family history and pictures on these mixed tiles, which I thought was kind of unique and cool.
Very cool. Last one I'll give you today is it's a highly functional one. I absolutely love it. It's called TurboScan. Do you use that?
I don't.
So TurboScan is similar to your regular phone scanner. If you want to not run it through a scanner, a document, you want to scan the document, which is great. Every scanner app you can get does it. I may not have researched every scanner app out there, but this is the only scanner app that I know of that I can take a picture of a flip chart and it will take something on a projector. It's called keystone settings, where the top is wider than the bottom, or if it's slightly askew, and it will automatically straighten it up to be perfect.
That's
so
awesome.
With TurboScan, we take pictures of flip charts and it will end up being able to then email in a PDF. It is the most clean, functional app to take pictures of flip charts and notes in a meeting.
Yeah, and you also think about dry erase boards probably works on that as well. Just
Yeah.
to kind of straighten it out. Okay, you got me. There's the one app I'm definitely going to download because I definitely could use. I usually just take pictures of things, but everything's skewed.
It might cost you $4 or $5. I'm telling you, it's worth it.
Awesome. Send me a referral link for that one. Maybe you get credit.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, listen, there's no doubt mobile apps aren't going away. And maybe we should redo this exercise in another 5 years because we came up with ones we absolutely don't have that the other has. And you could probably learn a lot from sharing those with friends and family in terms of what people use because there's so much technology out there. It's unbelievable. And have companies like Dan has here with Dapper Mobile, to help you get these apps going and developed and launched and marketed is such a huge value add.